They didn't mean to contact Earth. The distress beacon was set to broadcast in general. Galactic bands and automated SOS sent in the final moments before their capital fell. A peaceful alien species under siege by merciless invaders reached out to the stars in desperation. What they got was a response from the most dangerous planet in the known galaxy. Earth heard the call, and when Deathworlders answer, they don't bring aid. They bring warships. At first, the Galactic Council tried to intervene. Warnings were issued. Earth was told to stand down, to let diplomacy take its course. But humans had seen the images: burning cities, enslaved children, a civilization on the edge of extinction. That was enough. Within hours, the full might of the Terran Deathworlder fleet was in motion. The aliens had asked for help. What they received was the arrival of Earth's last answer: overwhelming, unstoppable force. They didn't mean to contact Earth. That was the first truth. The signal, hastily coded and shot into the stars from a dying world, had been set to transmit on the universal emergency band used by most peaceful civilizations in the Perseus Arm. It was a last, desperate cry from the people of Catheriana, species of tall, pale-skinned beings known for their philosophical insights, advanced medical science, and a total absence of military power. They were researchers, artists, and diplomats. The idea of violence repulsed them. The signal wasn't meant for Earth, but Earth heard it anyway. The Catherians didn't even know what a death world truly was. In galactic classification systems, planets are ranked by survivability. Garden worlds, like Catherian, are temperate, low-risk, low-predation havens. Death worlds, on the other hand, are rare. They are violent, unpredictable, and brutal planets that actively resist life, where survival means adaptation, strength, and intelligence. Earth is one such world, and its dominant species, humanity, had evolved in the crucible of fire and chaos. Earth was, for the most part, ignored in interstellar politics. Too young, too aggressive, too unstable. There were whispers, of course, stories passed between alien races about what humans had done when provoked. But those were considered exaggerated myths, more fiction than fact. Until Catherian's signal reached them. The message was short, choppy, broken by static and dying relays. But the content was unmistakable to any species that hears this. We beg for aid. We are under attack. We are not soldiers. Our cities burn. Our children scream. Help us, please. Humanity answered. The call was intercepted by Earth's deep space network, analyzed by AI translation models, and forwarded directly to the United Human Defense Command, UHDC. Within 3 hours, an emergency session of the Interstellar Response Committee convened in Geneva. Intelligence agencies confirmed the signal's origin. Satellite relays in the Kuiper Belt triangulated its trajectory. It was real. The Galactic Council, upon learning that Earth had received the message, issued an official recommendation: do not engage. The Council feared escalation. The attackers, a warrior race known as the Dravari, were known for their brutality and territorial invasions. But more importantly, they feared Earth's reaction. There were still unresolved questions about what had happened during the Tarsi's incident 20 years prior, where an entire pirate fleet vanished after abducting a single human medical team. No one ever found the fleet again, but Earth had seen the Catherian transmission. They saw what looked like concentration camps, mass graves, forced labor, children. The vote was swift. 192 nations aligned. The UHDC issued one directive: mobilized. The 7th Terran Expeditionary Fleet, codenamed Leviathan, was deployed within 12 hours. Leviathan wasn't a relief crew. It was a military armada, composed of 3 dreadnought-class carriers, 15 escort cruisers, 5 siege frigates, and a battalion of orbital drop troopers. Each soldier was trained to operate in lethal environments. Each ship was equipped with AI battle systems, kinetic weaponry, EMP pulse arrays, and planetary assault capabilities that they did not travel quietly. They arrived in the Catherian system through a man-made wormhole, a byproduct of humanity's recent breakthroughs in quantum tunneling. The Dravari, expecting no resistance, had no warning. The first ship they saw was the UTS Vengeance, a sleek, obsidian predator nearly 3 kilometers long, bristling with railguns and drone ports, flanked by support ships that fanned out like the wings of a reaper. It appeared in orbit without ceremony, without warning. The Dravari scrambled to reposition. But by then, Earth had already locked targets. What happened next was not war. It was something else. The orbital phase lasted 6 minutes. Kinetic rods, essentially. Tungsten telephone poles fired from orbit at hypersonic velocity rained down on Dravari command centers. Entire bases ceased to exist. EMP bursts crippled enemy air defenses. Drone swarms disabled planetary communication arrays. The Catherians watched from underground shelters as the sky lit up with fire and streaks of destruction. Then came the drop pods. Each pod carried a Deathworlder. Encased in powered exosuits, neural linked to AI combat assistance, the Terran shock troopers landed like meteors. They operated in units of 6, moved with precision, and never stopped advancing. The Dravari, trained for hand-to-hand combat and psychological dominance, were shattered by the sheer force and cold efficiency of humanity's tactics. A human soldier, it turns out, didn't need to shout or threaten. They didn't posture. They executed. The contrast was terrifying. In less than 48 hours, the Dravari occupation crumbled. Their command structure was annihilated, their fleets disabled. Surviving warriors tried to flee. They were tracked, detained, and disarmed. No executions. Number. War crimes. Every action was recorded, documented, and reviewed by Earth-based oversight AIs. The humans had brought overwhelming force, but they had also brought law. And then, they began to rebuild. Catherian citizens emerged from bunkers, expecting more terror. Instead, they found soldiers unloading medical supplies, field hospitals being set up, translators learning their language, engineers restoring water systems. Children who had never seen a human were given food rations and warm blankets. One young Catherian girl, interviewed later, described the humans as giants of fire who put down their weapons to help us walk. The Galactic Council was furious, not because of what Earth had done, but because of how quickly and effectively they had done it. The Council feared precedent. If other species began asking Earth for help, what would happen to the fragile balance of power? But it was too late. The story of Catherian spread. Within weeks, alien diplomats arrived on Earth seeking security alliances. Peaceful species offered technological exchanges in hopes of mutual defense agreements. Even old enemies grew cautious. The Dravari Empire began to fracture from within, shaken by what they called the silence of Leviathan. For humans, it was just another mission. In an address to the United Nations, General Ayanna Rothschild, commander of the Leviathan fleet, said, "We did not go to Catherian to conquer. We went because they asked for help. We responded not as conquerors, but as protectors. That is our burden. That is our choice." But not all voices agreed. Some Terran philosophers and political scientists warned that such actions, though noble, could lead to unintended consequences. Humanity's reputation was evolving. They were no longer the quiet newcomers on the edge of the galactic map. They were a force. A question whispered across council chambers. If this is what humanity does when asked for help, what would they do when truly provoked? The Catherians, meanwhile, began integrating Terran defense training into their society. Not to become warriors, but to ensure they would never again be so helpless. They honored humanity with a monument in their capital, a sculpture of 6 human soldiers standing shoulder to shoulder with Catherian children at their feet, and the words inscribed below, From fire they came, not to burn, but to shield. As for the signal, the one that started it all, it now plays on loop in a museum orbiting Earth. A reminder, a warning, and a promise, because when the Deathworlders answer an SOS ... they don't just respond. They arrive. The 7th Terran Expeditionary Fleet, codenamed Leviathan, was deployed within 12 hours. Leviathan wasn't a relief crew. It was a military armada, composed of 3 Dreadnought-class carriers, 15 escort cruisers, 5 siege frigates, and a battalion of orbital drop troopers. Each soldier was trained to operate in lethal environments. Each ship was equipped with AI battle systems, kinetic weaponry, EMP pulse arrays, and planetary assault capabilities that they did not travel quietly. They arrived in the Catherian system through a man-made wormhole, a byproduct of humanity's recent breakthroughs in quantum tunneling. The Dravari, expecting no resistance, had no warning. The first ship they saw was the UTS Vengeance, a sleek, obsidian predator nearly 3 kilometers long, bristling with railguns and drone ports, flanked by support ships that fanned out like the wings of a reaper. It appeared in orbit without ceremony, without warning. The Dravari scrambled to reposition. But by then, Earth had already locked targets. What happened next was not war. It was something else. The orbital phase lasted 6 minutes. Kinetic rods, essentially. Tungsten telephone poles fired from orbit at hypersonic velocity rained down on Dravari command centers. Entire bases ceased to exist. EMP bursts crippled enemy air defenses. Drone swarms disabled planetary communication arrays. The Catherians watched from underground shelters as the sky lit up with fire and streaks of D.